No, they should not. That was not correct, and entire Muslim community cannot be blamed for it. A few clerics, few religious leaders did it for their own purpose. So, and it was quite wrong. First thing, they do not understand the issues. Assam was a very different issue from what was going on in Burma. How demonstration can be justified for what was happening in Burma? Because government of India is not responsible for it. It is government of Burma which is responsible for it. It's another country, foreign country, and much worse things happened in Sri Lanka earlier. Sri Lankan Muslims were slaughtered by LTTE and government forces in Sri Lanka. Why did they not protest? And are Muslims not killing Muslims? I mean, in Syria, hundreds of Muslims are being killed every day. In Bahrain, demonstrators were fired upon and so many were killed. What about that? So, one thing we have no business to, unless it is some kind of international issue like Palestine, which is a very different issue. That also not to be seen as a Muslim issue, but as a human rights issue, because Israel has been killing Palestinians against all international agreements and international laws. Here it's a disputed nationality, question of disputed nationality, and of course what happened with Burmese Muslims was highly undesirable. I myself went there, and the kind of massacre which took place there, and even Dalai Lama refused to appeal not to kill. I mean, he has that image of, international image of very compassionate. Wherever he goes, he talks of compassion as a real value. What happened to his sense of compassion? Okay, people may not listen to him, but he should have fulfilled his duty by appealing to them not to kill. It is against Buddhist teachings. Even that he did not say, because he did not want to be unpopular among Buddhists. Anyway, that's a different thing, but this demonstration was not at all justified, and government of India was not responsible for it, and also they were misguided by certain photographs which were circulating on internet, whether mischievously or whether it was out of ignorance, I cannot say, but those photographs had nothing to do with the massacre of Rohingya Muslims in Burma. And they were about some various other events. They collected those photographs and uploaded them. That caused a lot of this. But they should inquire before undertaking such a venture. And 2-3 lives were lost. And we know how police will react. But fortunately, we had a very good police commissioner, Mr. Patnaik, who handled it very sensitively, and the mob dispersed peacefully, but later on mischief was done. Others came and started burning vehicles and all that. And no leader, unless totally confident of controlling such a huge mob, should lead such demonstration. 50,000 people. I mean, no, it's very difficult for any one person to control such a mob. Even a small section gets out of control, anything can happen. So it was wrong, it should not have.
So you are telling it's wrong. So what could have been the other ways of responding to Assam riot?
Assam riots, of course, this country has become country of communal riots. Every year I pray in the beginning that let's hope this will be a riot-free year. But so far I have not been fortunate enough to see a year which is riot-free. I monitor all the riots every year, prepare report at the end of the year what riots took place. So Assam was least expected. I was in Assam just 3 days before the riots broke out. I returned from there and riots broke out. Now, this is all riots are politically motivated. Let's be very clear about it. That riots don't, unless it is local skirmish, that's a different thing. But otherwise, all riots which persist beyond few hours are politically motivated. They are organized. There are political forces behind it. And in India, BJP, RSS, VHP, what we call as Sangh Parivar is always behind such riots. In Assam too, of course it was between Bodo and Bengali speaking Muslims, but clearly there was Sangh Parivar hand behind it, because they want to establish their base in Assam. I had covered Delhi riots of 1983, in which 4,000 Bengali speaking Muslims were slaughtered in 1983. So I clearly could see RSS hand behind it, and RSS was supporting ASU movement, and ASU movement was very much responsible for what happened in Delhi. This confusion between Bengali speaking Muslims and Bangladeshi Muslims has to be removed. See, all Bengali speaking Muslims are not Bangladeshi Muslims. Bangladesh came into existence in 1971. Before that, what? And at the time of partition, there was no Pakistan. Pakistan came into existence in 1947, and Bangladesh came into existence in 1971. Now, most of these Muslims, which are being described as Bangladeshi Muslims, had come to Assam during 30s and 40s, and maximum number came during 30s and 40s. There was famine in Assam, and at that time Saadat Ali was Prime Minister, I think, of Assam, and Viceroy had written to him to bring Muslims from Bangladesh, from Bengal, because they are very hard working. Assamese labor is notoriously lazy. They themselves accept it, that what is called in Assam is lahe lahe, dhire dhire karo, lahe lahe. That is part of their culture. So they don't work hard, and they needed workers who could work hard and produce more food grain, because that was required at that time. So he brought, and also there was Muslim League pressure, because Muslim League at that time wanted Assam to be included in Muslim majority area, and that was part of the problem between Muslim League and Congress, because Muslim League was insisting that Assam should be included in Muslim majority provinces for the sake of cabinet mission plan. Congress had refused that Assam under no case is a Muslim majority area, and this will not be part of that. The dispute was going on. Anyway, he brought so many Muslims at that time, 40s, early 40s, that Viceroy wrote to him He wrote in a letter, Saadat Ali Khan is producing more Bengali Muslims than food grain. That was his sentence. So anyway, that time the population of Bengali Muslims increased. So it was not recent, but some people, when the struggle was going on for Bangladesh, 1970 to 71, that time also a lot of Muslims from Bengal migrated. Now everybody has accepted that those who came up to 71 can become Indian citizens. Only those who came after 71 should be sent back. Now for that Indira Gandhi passed a law. The identification is very slow because it is very difficult to prove. They arrest anyone and call him or her as Bangladeshi. So then you have to prove in the court that indeed he or she is Bangladeshi. Because we carried out a survey in Mumbai also, because when Shiv Sena came to power in 1995, they also started saying we'll throw away all Bangladeshi Muslims from Mumbai. So our researchers undertook a survey and found that baseless, because all of them had passports, ration cards. So policemen started saying that how many passports you want, we can give. This is very highly irresponsible. It reflects on police department. How can you give certificate to foreigners to be Indian citizens, and how they can get passport from passport office? That means there is something seriously wrong in police department. Anyway, some Bangladeshis do come. We are not denying that they don't come, but they are laborers. I mean, very, very low paid workers. I mean, those who pull rickshaws or those who work as domestic servants. It is this kind of people who are coming, not, I mean, middle class people or others with high income. Why should they come to India? They would better go to Canada or America or England. Only very low paid workers come here. And those figures are also highly exaggerated. I mean, Sangh Parivar went to the extent of saying more than 2 crores have come. 2 crores, 3 crores. One TV interview, I found one person saying 5 crores have come. So, this kind of rumors, then the tension goes up. And this Bodo land, unfortunately, has been created in Bodo minority area. Now, Bodos are just 30%, 29 point something, where these riots took place. So, their attempt is to frighten and throw away as many Muslims as possible, so that their number can increase. That was the whole game. And they are armed, because Bodo Students Union, they all have arms, machine guns and AK-47 and 57 and all that. Muslims are not armed. They have but very crude arms. So they fight with that.
From where they are getting the arms? The Bodos?
They are from where Naxalites are getting, from where terrorists are getting. You know, the terrorists, this Taliban and all that, their budget is more than $10 million per year for arms. So, you know, you talk about terrorists, nobody talks about armed traders. I mean, they are primarily responsible. Why should they sell arms? I mean, if you are against terrorism, you should first see that arms are not supplied to them. I mean, now they have anti-air gun and missiles. They fire missiles also in Afghanistan and all. That means they buy arms from companies. I mean, you can't get missile in the market otherwise. So, it's a very complicated issue where they get arms from. So all those who are fighting with arms easily get arms. I mean, Mizos and this Asu people and all of them, this, what is that organization, Salpa in Assam, all of them have very sophisticated arms and they fight with those arms. So Bodos are very well armed and they think that they are the original residents of Assam, and others came later on and captured the territory, and there is, I mean, substance in it, no doubt. But what was unjust was to create Bodo land in an area where there are just 30%. Whereas Bengali speaking Muslims, Rajbanshi and several other tribes, they are about 70%. So if you create Bodo land in such an area, and moreover that council is controlled by Bodos, so they make all crucial decisions about development schemes and all that. So majority is left out, and most of the benefits go to Bodos. That's the reason why this
So I want to ask you, like you are telling whatever happened in Mumbai, it's wrong, and at the same time, whatever happened in the Assam riot, and it is very unjust for Muslims, Bengali Muslims. So how Muslims can react to protest against that, whatever happened in Assam? What can be the...
You see, anywhere, whether it is in Assam or elsewhere, we have to be democratic. We have to struggle with the help of other secular democratic forces in a peaceful manner. I know it is easier said than done, but then unless we have that kind of discipline and that kind of determination, minorities, it is in their own interest, I say. Because if you try to become militant, you can be crushed in no time. Because police, army, all these are against minorities. They are against Dalits, they are against tribal, they are against Muslims, all weaker sections of society. So they have no chance. And you saw a few bomb explosions and how Muslim boys have been harassed by police. Hundreds of them are rotting in prison without trial and without any charges, substantial charges and all that. And when those charge sheets are filed, no substance is found and they are all discharged. But prime of their youth is destroyed in jails. So such fight will never help minorities. It has to be, and on principle also. I mean, there are two ways of looking at it. One is chances of success. So there is no chance of success at all. I mean, you may do few bomb explosions here and there, but then the police will come down very heavily. Whole administration will come down very heavily. An entire community will suffer. So such, and on principle also I am totally against. It has to be non-violent, peaceful, and then the young people who are impatient, they can argue, and they do argue, that how long are we supposed to. But then if you resort to violence, you will have to suffer even longer. And that suffering will be worse than suffering otherwise. So on principle also you have to be peaceful and democratic in your struggle, and you have to take other democratic forces with you. And there are democratic forces in this country who will stand with you, who will side with you. There is victimization, and the kind of identity politics Hindutva forces unleashed, especially since 80s, that has increased this victimhood and sense of victimhood, because our electoral system also is to be blamed, because the whole electoral system is based on identity. I mean, tickets are distributed on the basis of identity, then elections are fought on the basis of identity, whole propaganda is done on the basis of identity. Now take Gujarat at present. I mean, what is going on in Gujarat? Now, on one hand, you call yourself a secular democracy. On the other hand, identity politics have gone to the extent of even dividing one community into several sub-communities for distribution of tickets. For example, Patels. Now there are Lewa Patels and there are other Patels. So tickets have been given even on that basis, that this is Lewa Patel and this is Kadwa Patel. These are two sub-communities. Similarly, Boras supporting Narendra Modi among Muslims. Boras, Mojas, the trading community, and other Muslims opposing him. So identity politics has gone to the extreme. And it is this identity politics which makes minorities vulnerable, because majority will always benefit in election contested on the basis of identity politics. And some parivar took this took the identity politics to the extreme, because after partition, if extreme polarization took place, it took place on the question of Ram Janmabhoomi Babri, and they did it only to win elections, nothing else. Not that Mr. Advani suddenly became Ram Bhakt. He developed ambition of becoming Prime Minister. That was the reason why he took out Rath Yatra, which became a Blood Yatra. That was the title of the editorial in Times of India, Rath Yatra or Blood Yatra. Because when he took out Rath Yatra, a series of communal riots took place. And after demolition of Babri Masjid, you know what happened.
So are you saying it's justified, the victimization, sense of victimization?
Yes, I mean, it is not in the air. It is not imaginary. It is real.
No. How Indian Muslims can get over that victim syndrome?
You see, as the sense of victimization is not not imaginary but real. So you have to bring about changes, external changes in the society, real changes. Then only this sense of victimhood will go. Otherwise, how can it go? Now, it is true that we cannot put entire blame on government. We have also to do serious rethinking. We don't have any think tanks. We don't have proper leadership. And our Urdu papers try to promote religious leaders as leaders of the community, which is wrong. I mean, these religious leaders, there are two things. One, they are totally ignorant about the world at large. Secondly, they soon develop political ambitions, and to fulfill their own ambitions, they mislead community. So, religious leadership is a disaster. I mean, we have to develop secular leadership, and leadership with deep commitment. Unfortunately, after Maulana Azad and Zakir Sahab, we did not have any such leader of that stature. That is another. We have all petty Maulanas. Not only they are ignorant of the world at large, but highly selfish. I mean, the role of Abdullah Bukhari and his father has been disastrous for the community. When Babri Masjid agitation was going on, or Shahbano agitation was going on. So it proved very fatal, very disastrous for the community, the way these emotional issues were handled. So a new committed leadership, committed to democratic and secular values has to emerge, which has to understand Islam in the modern context. That is also very necessary. Our theology has remained totally stagnant for last 1,000 years or so. It has to change, and unfortunately secular leadership has no knowledge of religion, and religious leadership has no knowledge of secular world. That imbalance has to go, and we have to have new leadership which is fully aware of Islamic values as well as secular and democratic values, and has to do serious rethinking and provide leadership. I also answered that unfortunately it's religious leadership which is providing leadership to community, which is proving disastrous.
So then who do you think...
my experience shows, I conduct workshops for many ulama also. They are so ignorant of Islam and Quran. Forget about this world, modern world. They are ignorant of... I discuss, because recently we have codified Muslim personal law. So I call and discuss with them. They're so ignorant, they know only about what is, what was and what should be. They are totally ignorant. So how can they provide leadership? Out of question.
Then who do you think should lead Indian Muslims?
You see, that is unfortunate thing that partition has done serious damage to Indian Muslims. Partition was real disaster. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he could not take long-term view of the whole thing. He was more concerned with immediate problems and also his ego, his own ego, because Congress neglected him, and he always had differences with Gandhiji. And Gandhiji was mass leader, Jinnah was an intellectual without any base. So naturally, Gandhiji prevailed. So it was very offending to him. And he took revenge by dividing the country, which has done very long-term damage to Muslims in India. Now, entire middle class migrated from North India to Pakistan, creating a severe vacuum. Now, to fill this vacuum will take a long time, and long time especially because even feudal class migrated to Pakistan. So those left here were poorest of the poor, because they found no benefit in going to Pakistan. A Tangawala will remain Tangawala, a weaver will remain weaver, a sweeper will remain sweeper. Why should they migrate? So these people were left here. For middle class to emerge, you need education. And these people simply cannot afford education. And partition has become such a sore issue that in the heart of their heart, most of the bureaucrats, they think they have taken their land. What are they doing here? So most of them are not sincere in implementing various schemes for Muslims. I mean, they see to it that it is scattered. And for example, Maulana Azhar Foundation and several such funds are allocated by Planning Commission. They simply remain unutilized for two reasons. Bureaucrats are not honest. Secondly, Muslims are not aware. Because they are not educated, they have no awareness of various government schemes and all that. So if rate of education is low, the percentage of middle class will also remain low. So a new middle class is emerging. Not that it is not emerging. A new middle class is emerging, but taking time. When this new middle class emerges in full force, then you will have better chances of secular leadership coming forward and leading the community. Till then, you will have to depend on these ignorant mullahs. And I put it this way, we produced a Sir Sayyid, now we need an Ambedkar. Sir Sayyid catered to upper classes of Muslims. We need someone who will cater to lower classes of Muslims. So we need Ambedkar now. I tell you, Babri Masjid demolition and riots following it has taught a lesson to Indian Muslims. It's a watershed. I say there are two watersheds in independent India as far as Muslims are concerned. Creation of Bangladesh and demolition of Babri Masjid. Both gave shock to Indian Muslims. Earlier, many of them used to look towards Pakistan, that it is a place where we can go, we can take refuge there, or emotionally attached to Pakistan. When Bangladesh came into existence, that illusion was shattered, that Pakistan can be of any use to them. They knew that how Bangladeshi Muslims were treated, Bengali Muslims were treated by Punjabi Muslims. 1 million Bengali Muslims were slaughtered at the time of Bangladesh war, during that whole struggle for Bangladesh. And 200,000 women were raped by Punjabi soldiers of Pakistani army. So that illusion was shattered, that Islam can become a nationality for Muslims. Still today, more than 1 million Bihari Muslims are rotting in refugee camps in Dhaka, in Bangladesh. They say we don't want to live in Bangladesh, and Pakistan says we will not accept them. Where will we keep them, 1 million Muslims? So this linguistic identity also plays very important role. Linguistic and cultural identity. It is so different in case of Urdu-speaking Muslims and Bengalis. That we have to realize. At the time of heat of partition, we did not consider all this. And Islam is the savior, Islamic homeland, and that kind of thing. So when we were confronted with reality, we came to know what is reality. So that illusion has gone. Second was Babri Masjid, watershed. That illusion that we can, as a minority, fight out for our rights, that illusion was shattered. And the way Muslims were killed after demolition of Babri Masjid gave a shock to them. And common Muslims realized that these leaders who play up with emotional issues can never do anything for us. They will lead us to disaster only. So now that militancy has gone from among Muslims, and they are more realistic. They have realized that education is the only way out. We should go for education. Only thing is means, where to find means from. And government schemes are there, but prejudice and corruption both eat away funds. I mean, prejudiced bureaucrats are not sincere in implementing schemes, and secondly, when they implement, corruption comes in the way. Because when these poor students go for scholarship, they are always middlemen, and middlemen say, well, I have to bribe the officer and I want my commission. So even half the amount does not reach those for whom it is meant. So these are the problems, and only when educated Muslims come forward to fight on all these issues, there will be some relief. And we have to constantly struggle for more education and female education. That's very, very essential. We have kept our women behind. The whole culture in the society was such, and even today mullahs oppose education among women. What's the need? In my childhood, my sister is not educated because that was not considered necessary. How you can marry off a woman, that used to be the main concern. So now things are changing, and more women are also going for education. It's a good, healthy sign. But again, rate is very slow. There is an interesting contrast also. In many places, I was told that more women are much more qualified than boys. So how to get them married? That has become a problem. I was in Kolhapur, so some Jamaat leaders said, we want to meet you. I said, most welcome. So they started discussing that this has become main problem for us. Our girls are MSc and MA and all that, and our boys are hardly metric. So what to do? I said, of course boys also. You see, what happens, for example, Indians, when they go to America, they become very hard working. Because they realize that if we don't work hard, our parents have spent so much, all will go west. Similarly, women, when they get opportunity for education, they know that we must work hard and prove our merit. So, and in UP also, one Mr. Sharwani was consistently monitoring situation. Every year, year after year, he collected data. More women got first class in metric than boys. Muslim, I am talking about Muslim women. Because women work harder. They have to fight against greater odds. So that's a good sign. But still, when you take entire Muslim population in India, most of the women are bidi workers or domestic help or doing some odd jobs. Very, very dismal situation. Unless we remove this dismal situation, small middle class is there. From that middle class, women are going for education. No doubt about it. But that class itself is very small.